Elon Musk speaking virtually overnight at a conference in Dubai, calling for entire government agencies to be scrapped, deleted. His comments coming as a federal judge allows the Trump administration to carry out its federal worker buyout program. However, investors are questioning just how much of a distraction DOGE is for Musk, with shares of Tesla down 5 of the past 6 trading days and down 16% so far this year. Joining us is Tim Higgins, who wrote the book and comments on Musk, has been studying him for a long time. I'm glad to talk to you, Tim, because I feel like there's some misunderstanding or a lot of noise around what the motivations are for Elon Musk here when it comes to DOGE. Can you clear it up from your perspective as to what's going on?
Yeah, he's been, I think, for the last few months, pretty clear what his perspective and what his ambitions are, and that is to cut government spending, but I think more importantly, cut government regulations. He has for years talked about how there are too many regulations holding businesses back, in particular his companies at SpaceX and Tesla. He has seen that up close and personal. When you look at SpaceX in particular, he wants to get to Mars. He wants to get out into outer space a lot. He's been running into hurdles that he says are unnecessary, such with the EPA and other agencies. And now he has that opportunity to get in there and make things run quicker in his mind.
The Democrats say he's conflicted. He's going through his own contracts. He's violating our privacy. He has unrestricted power. Do you buy any of that?
Well, it's, I guess, not surprising given that they are on the other side of the aisle, but they do raise some legitimate concerns here. It is a potentially conflict of interest if he is in there in these government agencies that have potential to regulate him. That's the sort of thing you don't necessarily see or want to see in government, but it's a unique situation. When President Trump has been asked about conflicts of interest with Elon, he says Musk will kind of police himself and that he's watching over him. So. Yeah, definitely concerns from people who study good government and have worries about overreach and business in government.
Yeah, I mean, but the counter argument is that, government hires consultants all the time, like a McKinsey, and they pay them a lot of money to come in, which is also something. And Elon's not getting paid for this, right?
Right. And I think you're hearing his supporters say, hey, he's the world's richest man. He's not doing this for money. He's doing this to help the taxpayer. That's kind of the back and forth on these arguments. But what is really unique here is that he's not the first CEO, the first businessman in the world or the history of the U.S. who wanted to be involved in government in some way. And we've seen it in the past. But what he has done, at least in these early weeks, has shown an effectiveness to get himself deep within the trenches in a way that we haven't really seen before. And that gets at the kind of close relationship he has with the president and that his willingness to be out front fighting these dragons.
Is there any indication that his focus right now, which seems to be primarily on DOGE and Washington, comes at the expense of Tesla? Or is there leadership in place that it doesn't matter and they shouldn't skip a beat?
I mean, the one thing that Elon Musk seems to not be working on right now is creating more hours in the day, and that's probably what he should be working on, right? But it goes back. I mean, the criticism that he's too distracted, that he's too overwhelmed, has gone back for many, many years. At this point, Tesla investors know what they're getting. But I will say that, when he took over Twitter in late 2022, this was a concern. The company, Tesla, the automaker, was at kind of an inflection point. There was starting to be some signs about the way the electric car market was going and where the Tesla was positioned. And it would seem as if Tesla is now at the point where it doesn't have the kind of new product that it needs to excite the market, right? There is promises of some cheaper vehicles later this year, but the big issue is that if you look at its lineup, it's pretty old. And that's always a tough place to be if you are a car maker. New sheet metal sells, old sheet metal sticks around. And that is an issue if you're a Tesla investor. That said, Tesla investors are really betting that sheet metal isn't the future. It's software, that these vehicles are going to be autonomous taxis, that driverless cars are on the precipice of happening. And that is where they're putting their money with Musk. And they're hoping that his relationship with Trump will help kind of usher in that new era.
The other big story, it's actually in the Journal this morning, Tim, is about Merz of Germany, who's the front runner in their upcoming elections, who says that Musk will face consequences, in his words, for meddling in German politics. And, of course, Germany, the home of their one huge European factory. What kind of price might he pay for that?
Well, you could see the price being, consumers being turned off by the brand. That's been a concern, especially in Europe, where sales have struggled. We've seen here in the U.S. Democrats being turned off by the brand at certain points when Musk has been especially vocal on some of his more contentious views. You also have just the idea that governments around the world are wary of some of the way he's using his bully pulpit of X and getting involved in external politics, whether it's in the UK, EU, Germany. These are things that make people nervous and definitely, create some unhappy will, if you will.
Yeah, we are seeing that play out. By the way, Tesla having a nice comeback day, 5.5% higher. Tim, thank you for your insight. Tim Higgins from the Wall Street Journal. Also, the book is Power Play, Tesla, Elon Musk, and the Bet of the Century.